Hi, everybody. Namaste. So today's love lesson is on I am not the body, I am not the mind, or am I? Or you are not the body, you are not the mind, or are you? So let's start with the opening mantra before we go. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mritruma Amritamgamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the untruth to the truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. So from untruth to truth. So we talked a little bit about this in our last love lesson, the difference between Satya and Mithya. Satya, truth, and Mithya, untruth, or that which appears to be true. So I want to just comment here that when and wherever possible, always going to try to use Sanskrit terms as we're discussing yoga, especially the Danta yoga philosophy. And the reason for this is for sure not to demonstrate Sanskrit. I'm not a Sanskrit teacher. I wouldn't even attempt to begin to teach anything about Sanskrit. And I can't even really guarantee that my own pronunciations are completely accurate. I will tell you, especially with my Southern accent, but I will tell you that I sincerely strive to do so. And the reason for that is because a large portion of the knowledge that's being transmitted is embedded in the Sanskrit language itself. It's embedded in the vibration of the sounds, Sanskrit letters that make up the language. So we know, don't want to go too far down into this, maybe another love lesson, we can go deeper, but just, to kind of give you something to compare that to is in Western science with the string theory and, quantum physics, all the science that they're doing where we know that vibration as the building block, if not the very first creation to happen when this universe was created was sound. And we that's a reoccurring theme throughout most religions, most philosophies, is that in the beginning was the word, in the beginning was this vibration, and yoga philosophy, Vedanta, it's referred to as Omkar or Om. So that's about all I'm going to say as far as, but I just wanted you to understand there's a reason why we're using these Sanskrit terms. So in the last love lesson, we talked a little bit about reality and why you can't create your own reality, because there's only one reality, right? And that is Satya, or truth. And everything else is one of two things. It's either tucha, which means it doesn't exist at all, and we know it doesn't exist. It's just a made up fabrication, like a rabbit with antlers, right? And then, but we also know that there are many things that appear to be real and aren't. So I am, again, I don't want to just repeat the whole last love lesson, but we use the example of a flower. Another example, I'll give two just to refresh our memory and give us a good jumping off point, is um, the example of clay. And so you could think of clay as being satya. Clay is, and this is just an example, of course, clay isn't, but clay being satya, right? That which is the truth or omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Okay, and then you can, or clay can take on the form of a clay cup, a clay platter, a clay saucer. So, say you have a clay cup, right? So, a cup exists, right? We can say that a cup is real. We see it; it exists. However, the cup is dependent upon clay, right? The cup is clay, right? It's in the form of a cup. Clay did not cease to exist, right? It's still clay. It's a clay cup. So that's why it's distinguished between, a tin cup or a glass cup. It's a clay. So, however, if you take that and you break the cup up and smash it and, bring it down to the smallest possible form, you can actually return it back to clay, right? Because clay was always there. Another example that's used a lot is the ocean and wave. So the ocean you could think of as satya and the wave as mithya. Right? So the ocean is always there. The wave appears upon the ocean, takes a form, right, of a wave. However, the ocean doesn't become a wave, it's still the ocean. Right? The wave, right, is a temporary form. So the wave is dependent upon the existence of the ocean. So ocean is satya, wave is mithya. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. So let's get back to um, you are not this body, you are not this mind. And this is a teaching that I referred to again in one of the last love lessons, can be referred to as a near enemy of the truth, meaning that it's not completely false. You're not this body, you're not this mind. However, it's not completely true either, right? So it's a signpost. So it's one of those teachings that is there, right, to give you a jumping off place to start to get to self realization. Right? So, just like if you were going to help a friend locate Venus in the sky, right, and there's a million stars in the sky, it would be very difficult just to take your finger and point, it's that one right there, right? Because there's nothing to, there's no reference point. But what you could do is you could take your finger and say, I want you to just follow my finger right there at that branch. You see the branch that's sticking out, right? And then use the finger, which is pointing to the branch, and the branch right off to the right of that branch, about 5 inches, is Venus, right? So we have um, these signposts that point us towards the truth. So it is true, right, that you are not the body, you are not the mind. However, remember, just like the wave, right, the ocean doesn't become the wave, but the wave is the ocean. Right? So satya, right, or consciousness, doesn't become the body, but the body is consciousness. And so this is where it gets tricky, and it's confusion. What is the the biggest confusion of body identity, identifying with this body. And the reason, so the body, just like we, many of you know, if you've been reading or you've read or studied or anything about the Bhagavad Gita, it's one of the teachings that I have posted earlier, is that this body is a field. Right? And there's a knower of the field. Right? And so just like this body is a field, we are not this body, right? But we're aware of the body. We have body awareness, and that's why it makes it so much more difficult. So um, we can look out, and we know that we are not. We are separate from a tree. We are not a tree, right? We are not a table. We are not um, an animal or a pet. We know that as separate from ourselves. We know we are not that. So, and the way to self awareness, understanding, and realization, self realization, is through negation or understanding what you are not. Okay, so you can start by thinking of the things outside of your body, which are again easy to distinguish as separate from yourself. But because we have body identity, it makes it much more difficult, right, to realize that we are not the body. Now, so we have a method, right, for doing that, and it's called a method of inquiry, and it's prakriya. Right? And there are prakriyas, methods of inquiry, that help us understand, right, our true nature or realize our true self. So this is a lot to unpack. So maybe we'll do a couple of lessons on this. I want to start here, or just pick up and say a little bit about these methods of inquiry. So the first one is starts with the physical body, right? And understanding that you are not your body. And because you are aware of your body, so just like you're aware of things outside of yourself, right? And what I mean by that is outside of your body, right? You're aware of things outside of your body as not being your true nature, right? You're aware of those things, but you're also aware of this body. Right? You're aware if you have a headache. You're aware if your finger gets smashed in a car door or you stub a toe. You become very aware of it. Right? So you can be the observer of this physical body. Right? So we could start there and say, okay, I have a awareness that I am not this body. So maybe I am my experiences, because we have many experiences, experience of sight, of sound, right, of touch, taste, of smell. So we have taste consciousness. Right? We're aware of our sense of taste. So therefore we can't be the senses, because we're aware of the senses. We're aware of our sense of smell, of sound, and so forth. So we have sense awareness. We have body consciousness. We have sense consciousness, okay, or indriyas. And then we also have an ability to be conscious of our thoughts, right? Our manas. So we have mind awareness. Right? So because we are conscious of our mind, we have mind consciousness. We know we are not the mind. And so forth. So we can say, through the three bodies, even some of you, some of this is going to be much more in depth because you maybe aren't familiar with the teachings of the three bodies and the five sheets. So I encourage you to inquire about that if you don't remember. However, so we start with the physical body. We move to the energetic body, which is where we experience things. And we know, again, we have body consciousness, we have sense consciousness, we have mind consciousness. The one thing that is there throughout that is consciousness. Right? We have that in common with all of that. So, again, the tricky part is that we identify so strongly with the sense of self, right, that we get confused between the sense of self and the true reality of our universal consciousness or our awareness of that self. Right? So we use I, even if we can think about it intellectually, we still fall back into I am this, I am that, right? I am a woman, I am a man, I'm short, I'm tall, I have brown hair, black hair, right? All these self-identifications that we have, we refer to constantly because that identity, that self-awareness, that body consciousness is so strong, right? And such a strong bond. So we have this method of inquiry, right? And just like the scientists and the physicists are searching deeper and deeper into the nature of matter, right? And they keep breaking down farther and farther into atoms and protons and neutrons and quarks and leptons, and they keep getting smaller and trying to find the source or get to the point where they find no thing, right, or nothing. And the same going on with the space program, where we're sending out larger and larger and larger telescopes out into space, where we think we find it where there's nothing, right? It appears as though there's nothing, but they keep focusing on that spot, and suddenly there are many things within nothing, right? So now we got to go a little deeper, a little farther away until we find no thing or nothing. That again opens up into many, many more things, right? So just like they're trying to go deeper and deeper to find this origin or the nature of reality, right? Inward and outward. Right? Vedanta, right? Through Vedanta and yoga, we know that this nothing, this source of consciousness, right? That which allows us to be aware, have body consciousness, mind consciousness, sense consciousness. This is beyond knowledge. It's beyond being able to know. Right? You have that, if you're aware of your thoughts, and you're aware that you're aware of the thoughts, then you are no longer the one that is aware. So I know it's a deep rabbit hole, right? And that's why we have these practices. One of the reasons why, and we definitely can talk more about this if you guys are interested, you can drop a comment and let me know. But one of the reasons why I think that this is important is there's a quote that Swami Dayananda, I believe, said, and it's slipping into myself does not give knowledge of the whole, right? So what we see a lot more and more out in yoga land is seeking, a lot of experience seeking. And as long as you are a seeker, if you are a seeking person, right, you are not an enlightened person. A seeking person is like the scientists and the astronomers, right? Seeking inward and outward, that there's no end to the seeking. To know the self is a realization. It's a self-realization. So no experience, whether it's a Kundalini experience or a ecstatic experience or an ayahuasca experience or any other type of experience, is not going to provide self-realization. Now, I'm not saying there's not any value to any of that. There is probably value to many different practices. However, it's important to distinguish those things from the teachings of Vedanta. Vedanta is very clear that you do not experience self-realization. Self-realization is beyond experience. So what we use to describe consciousness or satya, or the truth, is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Absolute knowledge, absolute truth, absolute bliss. So I know that was a lot to unpack. We'll talk more about this. Maybe I'll spend a little more time maybe going back and reviewing and talking about, what am I talking about when I say we have 3 bodies and 5 sheets, and the Panchakosha, the 5 sheets, and maybe a little bit more about some of the practices that, because if it's not experience seeking, if those practices are not going to help you along a yogic path, what sort of practices do help you? And without, again, going too far into it, one is understanding Vedanta, studying Vedanta. Right? This is Gyan Yoga. And another is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is taught in the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhakti Yoga, which is devotion, understanding the devotional practices that go along with practice of yoga. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we went pretty deep today, but I will warn you, we can go a lot deeper. All right, namaste, everybody.